Oh, I'm live. There we go. Excuse the poor quality of video at the moment. I'm just on my laptop in my dressing gown. It's 8 p.m. in Brisbane, and I felt really called to talk about the subject today. And I really hope that this reaches somebody, anybody who needs a friend right now. I have been dealing with some feelings, a lot of amazing feelings, and some heavier feelings too, because I've had a couple of friends drop out of my life recently. And while I'm okay with that ultimately, because I know that it's normal for people to come and go in our lives, there's a grief that comes with that. I recently had a friend who was a mentor to me kind of disown me quite suddenly, just cut me out of her life. And that took a bit of a toll on me because I didn't even see us as having a disagreement necessarily. It was just that she saw my life playing out a certain way. I didn't need to be right. I wasn't trying to be right about anything. My point was just that, well, this is my journey and my calling, and I'm going to give it a go. And so she cut off contact with me. And I thought, okay, well, not everybody's going to understand. It makes sense that some of the choices we make will upset people and trigger people. And a lot of people out here in this collective are being called up to be strange, to be a little bit crazy, to be a little bit different, to talk about things that people don't understand. Depending on what your communities are, just talking about a soul might be really, really strange. Talking about extraterrestrials or angels might be really, really strange. Saying that you believe in intuition or in a new earth might freak people out. And then even in a wake community, some things can be so controversial. Like take twin flames. That whole word or concept freaks people out. And I'm on the journey and it freaks me out. So I can't expect other people to all be totally okay with talking about it all the time. And, maybe you're anti-vaxxer, maybe you're concerned about reptilians taking over the world. Maybe you want to disconnect from society totally, or you're concerned about the water, or maybe there are lots of things that you're concerned about or awake to that even awake people aren't going to want to hear or aren't going to want to engage with. One of the things I find really strangely triggering for people is when you take the higher perspective and when you tune in to that idea of it's all okay. Actually, it's all okay. It's all actually playing out exactly as it's meant to. That can be a really upsetting idea for people. And you know why? Why do people get so upset about the choices we make? Why do people get so upset about the things we just want to bring to the table, that we just want to discuss in an open way, or the ways that we choose to express ourselves when we feel like we're being as authentic as we can possibly be, as anyone can be as we become more and more self-aware? And I think it's because we read everybody else as a reflection of ourselves, right? Like everybody we come into contact with is an expression of us on some level. Maybe they're expressing a shadow side of us, or maybe we really admire someone because our light is what we're seeing in that person. So when we see someone doing something that we're not sure about, it makes our subconscious, our unconscious, everything start to flare up and go, well, maybe I'm not doing things right, or maybe this person is telling me I'm doing something wrong. And we take things personally. But really, everyone's playing out their role. Everyone's doing what they're meant to be, because we're all unique fingers of God, playing out the sim, playing out this theater with our own parts. So just because someone is an expression of you or an aspect of you or another you doesn't mean you have to be that person. And I was thinking about this, thinking, well, how do I wish other people would change? Why couldn't they be less offended? Why couldn't they not take things so personally? Why couldn't they be okay with not being right? But the funny thing about that is, if I weren't judging myself, if I weren't so worried about whether or not I'm right about what I'm doing, I wouldn't have people in my life mirroring that back to me. So I've realized again and again that I need to sit down with myself and not judge myself and be okay with myself. And maybe I'm not always going to be okay with myself. And maybe you're not always going to be okay with yourself. It's good to be self-reflective. But the thing about wondering if you're doing it right, it doesn't matter if you're right or not. It's about being okay with not being right. It's about being able to say, okay, well, this life is a grand experiment. Why can't my life be an experiment? Why can't I play and give myself permission to play and just try out all these different hats and all these different ways of being? What's the worst that could happen? We die and then we go back to heaven. Like, that's sorry to make light of death, but there's no such thing. So really there's nothing that can really go wrong. We're playing this great big sand pit, this great big video game. And now is the time to be the fool. And the fool in a tarot deck isn't card number 1, it's card number 0, or it's the circle card. And it speaks to that aspect of us that is always a student, always a fool, always the beginner. And the fool is the alpha and the omega, the beginning and the end. That's why you get those wise, foolish monk characters in the Tao, and those cliches like, the more I learn, the less I know. Because every ending is a new beginning, and we're always constantly experimenting and playing and getting it wrong. But like in science, if there are any scientists out there, there's really no such thing as a failed experiment. You're just learning lots of different ways not to do it. You're learning what doesn't work, and that counts as a contribution to knowledge. Like, I come from an academic background. It's a perfectly acceptable thesis to submit and say, well, none of this worked, so everybody who comes after me, don't try it this way. That counts as a contribution to knowledge, and that's totally fine. And the funny thing about saying this to you is, I know that you all believe this. I know that you all extend that grace to other people. And I hope that you can extend that grace to yourselves, that you can look at yourselves like your own friend and say, you know what, it's fine. Like, you tried something, maybe you haven't seen the fruits of that yet, or maybe you learned something, but I hope you had fun along the way. And one of the things I've been learning about time and free will, so this is when I get a little bit abstract. So I was asking my guides a few times about time and free will. And when I do channeling Q&As, people ask me these really hard, fun questions. And what my guides keep showing me is, when we zoom out, free will and fate, it just looks like this big sacred geometry pattern. So like a seed of life or a flower of life. Imagine that. And we're all zoomed in on our life. So we can just see a bit of the track, a bit of the road, a little piece of these lines. And these are all the plot points that are part of the collective agreement, part of what we agreed on before we came into this lifetime. And when we're in the flow and just let go, we're naturally riding those lines, these little highways like a roller coaster. And we flow, and maybe we don't know where we're going, but our higher selves, the higher ups, they see that big, perfect pattern that everyone is making together. But along the way, we have the negative space, the pockets, the space between the lines. And they're like these little pools. And for anybody who's read the Narnia series, I'm thinking of the magician's nephew when they see the dawning of the universe. And there's all these pools, and they look into one of them, and that's where they see Narnia being created. And that's what these pockets are. They're these little pools where we get to create our own lives, where we have free will, where we get to decide what the flavor and color is of this life as we ride this track. And Dan Milman, a very famous numerologist, and he wrote Way of the Peaceful Warrior as well, says that we all learn our lessons at the end of our life. It's just up to us whether we learn it in the positive or the negative. So, for example, if you're a life path 8, you're learning to be either the boss or the victim of your life. You're learning that you control everything that happens around you, and you're manifesting that. And you'll either learn it the hard way by feeling like everything happens to you in your life and you have no control and you feel like a victim. And then by the end of your life, you'll go, oh, whoops, I created all of that. But you'll still learn your lesson. Or you can learn it in the positive way, which is like, wow, I am creating everything around me. How do I take conscious control of this and make it more fun? And then you get to be the boss of your life. And by the end of it, you'll work out, yeah, I made all of that happen. I'm taking the credit for that. But by the end of your life, you still learn the same lesson. So if we're all learning the same lessons anyway, if we have all these pre-programmed, preset plot points that we get to come up to, they get triggered, with each new chapter that's unlocked, with each new mission that's fulfilled, just like a video game. Why not have lots of fun with it? Why not let it happen in the positive? And give yourself lots of grace and laugh about it and throw your hands up and go, okay, well, maybe I didn't get to decide on the plot points of my life in this human consciousness, but I sure got to decide to laugh and skip and dance and sing and shrug off the hard stuff along the way. Another, thank you so much for all the messages in the chat. Hello from Brisbane. Super lovely to see some people engaging. Thank you. Love hearts. The other thing here is, yeah, we can have lots of fun, and there are going to be people we lose along the way. And I actually had someone I care about very much ask me for a reading about feeling lonely and wanting more friends in their life. And I didn't realize how much that was bringing up feelings in me about that feeling of, loneliness, I guess. And my beautiful partner and I actually walked into the shop. She had this big banner and it was like, Barb psychic reading. And I just thought I want to go in and chat to Barb and have a look at her stuff. And one of the first questions she asked me and my partner was, who is your tribe? And we kind of looked at each other and went, online, I guess, like our tribe is online. And then this person asked me for a reading about, feeling lonely and looking for friends. And I realized that I needed to make this video before I could do this reading for her, because I'm dealing with this as well, because it's difficult to live a life that's bold and challenges paradigms and does things that people don't approve of and still feel like you can do it. And I've had a life that's been a bit lonely in a lot of ways. I've been very supported by people on the other side and people in my life. But it's very much felt like I've done a lot of things on my own until recently, until I got to walk hand in hand with my partner. And I'm so grateful for them. And I'm very, very fulfilled. But I guess sometimes in the back of my mind, there's this anxiety, like people want me to fail. Like there are people out there who really, really want to be vindicated by that, who want to go, look, see, I told you it wasn't possible. See, I told you it was stupid. I told you I could never do that. What if I end up like her? And I forgive them. I understand. I've been that person before. Like, what a whack job. Let them be a lesson of what not to do. I've been that person before, so I don't get to judge or be too butthurt about that. Oh, and then I had a friend, a peer, a colleague call me and my partner today and say that they wanted to be more of our friend and connect more and more and more. And it was really hard not to feel quite overwhelmed and touched by that. And I'm reminded that there are always people out there in the world who are going to be in resonance with you. And if you're okay to make space for that in your life, to be vulnerable and to be honest about the things that you want and be honest about the things that you're missing, God will provide. God will fill those spaces and those gaps. You just have to ask and not be too proud to admit that you want to ask for those things. There'll be people out there who want to cheer you on, who want to support you, and who may be a bit ahead of you, who want to walk side by side with you, or who may be a couple of steps behind you and want to learn from you and be pulled up. We exist, we're out there, and there'll be people in your resonance, in your field, who see that as well. But in the meantime, don't be too proud to say, I don't have all the answers. I don't know what's going on. I am just experimenting here in this playground, in the sandpit. And yeah, sometimes it's really, really hard. Sometimes it gets scary. Sometimes the voice in my head is like, what are you doing? I've had a couple of moments the last few weeks where I've thought, am I actually insane? Like, let's just pause for a second and take stock for a minute. Like, am I actually insane? I feel like that's an important question that we could all ask every now and then. And I came up with like an EFT tapping technique in a call I was on this morning, where I went, okay, even though I doubt myself, even though I get afraid, even though I don't always know what I'm doing, I deeply love, accept, and surrender to the process. I deeply love, accept, and surrender to the process. I deeply love, accept, and surrender to the process. And I hope that all of you can feel that there's a process happening for you here too. And you're allowed to ask for help along the way. You're allowed to ask for your blessings. You're allowed to ask your guides and masters and angels to come in, your loving ancestors. They want to help you and they need your permission to do that. So say, I give you full permission to intervene in my life, to bring me the things I want and need, whether I'm aware of that or not. But if you can bring it into your conscious awareness, that makes it better, because then when spirit comes knocking at the door and says delivery, you can recognize it as something that you wanted or not and say, thank you so much. Oh, well, thank you for bearing with me while I get that off my chest. I'm going to have a little look at the comments and make sure, oh, hi, Anne-Marie. Make sure nobody has any questions or anything they want to add that is deserving of a big virtual hug. Thanks everybody for sharing and for your beautiful notes. Yeah, absolutely. Your mind's beyond this reality. Who else gets that feeling of like being beyond the matrix or seeing through the matrix at various points? We just go like, none of this is real. This is all just kind of like a big, big joke. And we just get to play around with it and create and see what happens. I get that feeling a lot lately. And I'm so glad I've got someone by my side who actually gets that as well. But not everybody gets that. We're so lucky we have each other in this community and that we can reach out across time and space and connect up in dreams and reaffirm each other. But unfortunately, having a bunch of friends online and connecting up in the astral doesn't always make you feel more sane or more grounded. Sometimes it just seems like more evidence that you're pretty cooked, right? Okay. A plethora of permission slips, yep. Okay, Well, I guess that's me for now, but for everybody out there who feels like they need a friend right now, or is feeling a little bit like they just want someone to cheer them on, just want someone to want them to succeed at this point. Just saying that there's a bunch of us out there all rooting for you because, like Anne Marie says, like you're our permission slip. You're our permission slip to succeed. And to everyone who succeeded and kicked all of their goals, thank you for being my permission slip. Thank you for showing me that this is possible. And I hope that I can live a life of expanded and accelerating miracles so that I can show you it's all possible too. And I get to see that every single day. You know, I'm in a beautiful, loving union with my twin flame. And a couple of years ago, I didn't even know that was possible. I didn't even believe in twin flames. And we're manifesting like crazy at the moment, and we're literally being given loaves and fishes for free. People keep giving us free bread and free fish. Someone pulled their car over on the side of the road the other day and gave us a free pizza. Like this stuff is just happening all around us at this accelerated pace. And we're like, that's awesome. We're so excited that we're building this momentum. And I hope one day we can come to you with these like really huge manifestations and go, look at what we did. It's possible. You're not cooked. We did it. But I did promise when I started this journey that if I learned anything, if I could prove that channeling was real, that intuition was real, that miracles are real, then I would share that and I would pass that on. And so you're getting to see in real time what that looks like. You know, I'm just sharing one step at a time. Well, I tried this and this is what happened, and I tried this and this is what happened. So, you know, maybe you're seeing a train crash in slow motion, or maybe you're getting to like watch this journey up. I don't know, but for all of us on the journey together, I hope you succeed. I'm rooting for you. I really, really hope you succeed and get everything you want. And thank you for cheering us on. We're so grateful. We love you too. All right. Good night, everybody.